me turn some lights on so we have some lights, camera, action, baby! Hey, 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 my beautiful people here on YouTube. It's nice to see you all coming in. Let me go back up. Wow, you guys have been here for a little minute. Melanie, it's as far back as I can go on this side. Sorry, Delilah's right here. There she is. She's right by Mommy's side. Aww. Aww. She's been gal-palling with me today. Here she is, you little baby. Aww. So, anyways, I wanted to go over some breaking news update. At least it's breaking news for us because, again, we're going to go over some details and you'll see why it is breaking news in the Lilly and Jack Sullivan case. I know that tonight at 8 o'clock we were going to have a phone session. I believe our topic of conversation was Sebastian Rogers for tonight. Actually, I think it was going to be open to any of the cases that we were covering. But obviously with this new breaking information, we're not going to be doing that live call-in show this evening. So let's go ahead and get on through this. Melanie, it's nice to see you. Dawn, Suddenly Sally, Lisa Ann, Stephanie, Sherry, Treese, it's nice to see you. Lisa Ann, Stephanie, Phil. It's harder on the phone, I can tell you that. It's harder on the phone. Donna, it's nice to see you. Got a call from the hospital for an appointment on Monday for an ultrasound on my back before my upcoming surgery. Don't get old, I know. We're all falling apart. I don't feel old, but my body lets me know I'm getting up there. I will be honest with you. I wish I could. And if I open up the feet thingy here, then you guys will be pushed out even further. I won't even be able to touch the phone. Hold on just a second. I'll be right back. Let me tell. Okay, let me know that you guys can hear me now that I'm back, which I still have to go down to the end of this, but I'll come back up. Can you guys hear me? I'm not muted, am I? Hi, I see you. It's nice to see you, love. Let me make sure I'm not muted, and then we'll go back up. I hear you. Okay, perfect. All right, so I think we were at Treese and Suddenly Sally. We said hi to you guys. Donna, it's nice to see you. Truth in Time. Good afternoon. If I missed somebody, I do apologize. Jack, it's nice to see you. Rebel Princess, Florida Mom, Crystal, Andrea, it's nice to see you. Amy H, it's nice to see you. Christy, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Our beautiful ICU is up in the house. Cindy, it's nice to see you. Linda, BMW Coupe, nice to see you. Claire, hello. Reality Wins, hey, 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 love. I hope you're doing well. Kathleen, Meow, Denise, it's nice to see you all. Hindsight, good afternoon. Elizabeth, hello from Cincinnati. I'm confused. Some channels are studying. They found the bodies of the two children. Others are saying they're still searching. They're still searching for them. We ran a story. The remains that were found, we believe we know who they belong to, and we ran a story on those remains, and you should be able to go find it because it says remains or remains found or found remains, and it tells the story of the remains found, but no, it was never the children that were found. It is a man by the name of, oh, I forget his name now, Justin McDonald. Kenneth Justin McDonald, that's it, Kenneth Justin McDonald. 3 people were arrested for his death, but they never recovered him, and it was his dad. I watched the news coverage on it. It was his dad that found him. His dad never stopped looking for him, you know? His dad's tenacity reminds me a lot of Seth, and we're going to talk about Seth and Sebastian tonight as well, even with this new update that's coming out. So we've already got like 200 people in chat, so I'm going to go on with it because I know that there are some scheduled shows in the true crime community tonight on different people's channels, so I don't want to jam you guys up too awful much, but I did want you guys to get an update. So if you guys are just tuning in, let me just do my normal Reader's Digest version of whatever case I'm covering. So this is the case of Lilly and Jack Sullivan. They're missing out of Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia, Canada. Lily is 6 years old and Jack is 4 years old. They are presumed deceased at this time. Don't kill the messenger. That was stated by law enforcement, I believe, around day 4 or day 5 of the search. They did not believe these children were alive. These children still have not been found. Hide nor hair of these children have been seen or found. I've got more clarification on the sighting of the family. So little oddities, but again, we're going to get on with that in just a little bit. So the story of these kids is the week of the 28th. They went to school on the 28th and the 29th, and the bus driver dropped the kids off at their house on April 29th, 2025. There was no school the next day on May 1st in Nova Scotia, Canada, so the kids were naturally out of school. On Thursday, when they were supposed to return back to their school, they did not. And so they said it was a cough or the child was sick. And then Friday by 10 a.m., both children were reported missing. The cavalry came in. The mom and the stepfather's relationship immediately fractured, causing the mom, Malehya Brooks-Murray, to take off on April 3rd and never return to the area again. Daniel Martell is the stepfather, kind of, sort of. He's not married to Malehya, but they have been dating and living together for well over 2 years, a significant amount of time. And all of a sudden, we're finding out these children are gone. So many people, like me, speculated that the detail of them not going to school Thursday really did kind of perk our curiosity. For many of us, with that information and that information alone, I truly believed, along with many other people, that these children could have disappeared a lot sooner than they did. And that would have implied that both mom and stepfather would have had to know something. Well, just recently, the RCMP, which is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in Nova Scotia, released some information about 2 days ago, stating that these children were actually seen with family members on the afternoon of May 1st. Well, here's the weird thing about this. We heard from the mom and the stepdad that the kids were home on Thursday, that they weren't out and about. They were home sick. They were in bed. That's what we were told. And then come to find out that they're out with family members. But they weren't just any family members. Guess what? It was the family. The family left the house on the afternoon of May 1st. It was the mom, the stepfather, their daughter, and the 2 children. So that's interesting information. But we've also learned today, here is some breaking information that we're learning today. It appears, according to Daniel Martell, he did, in fact, pass his polygraph test. Now, again, the questions arise. Why is Malehya's family pointing the finger at him and accusing him of horrible things when he's not the one running away and he's the one taking any and all interviews related to the children that aren't even his biological children? And then we heard earlier today that it's possible that the mother has already lawyered up, even adding another complexing layer to this already complexing case. But that's not the best news so far. And what are you saying? Oh my God, Betty, best news, we got 2 missing kids. How can any news be best? We'll get there. We'll get there. So we've got these 2 children. They are homesick. Now we're learning with the newest RCMP post that the children were seen the afternoon of May 1st. So there's a proof of life other than just the parents, a third party that can be identified as those children being alive and walking and talking at XYZ date on May 1st. That is huge news. Now, we're going to just take a little break. We're going to stop right there, and we're going to navigate our way to Hendersonville, Tennessee, where a teenage boy by the name of Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers disappeared from inside his locked home where he was residing with only his mother. However, his mother is military trained and has MMA training, fight training as well. The home was secure. There was no forced entry into that home. However, at 6 o'clock in the morning, with all doors and windows locked, her child was missing. Her child, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, only got a search for 8 days. That search was called back, and no other searches have, well, I shouldn't say that. There was another, but it wasn't like a search. They did a reenactment on the house a couple of weeks later. To date, no additional ground searches or any type of situation like that has ever happened again in the Sebastian Rogers case. Sebastian has never been found. It doesn't even appear that he's ever walked out of the house he walked into. He poof, vanished. However, there's one tiny little caveat to that case, and that's at 3 o'clock in the morning. There were flashlights coming from the side of the Proudfoot home to an unknown marked car, and when the video is enhanced, it appears a large blob is carrying a large blob over to that car. And my question is if Sebastian was alive, why wouldn't he be able to walk himself to that car at 3 o'clock in the morning? Why is he having to be covered up in something? Because you can see the dressing over him. Why did he have to be covered up in something to be taken to a car? Because I truly believe those flashlights are Sebastian leaving that home and never returning ever again. Nothing really short of the truth is going to change my mind. If it alters or differs from that being the truth, I will have to see the truth if it differs from that. But I truly believe that blob, that enhancement, what we seen was a person being carried out of their home. No other searches again. Now, let's go back over to Nova Scotia, Canada. Back on May 7th or May 8th, I think it was like 5 days after these children disappeared from their homes, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police decide it was time to possibly scale back the searches. And we were all very much disappointed because we just started feeling, okay, you know, Sebastian only got 8 days. These kids only get 5 days. So we were very concerned when we heard that they were going to be scaling back search efforts. But a profound situation happened. All of a sudden, we're getting reports that they are actually identified additional search areas and are bringing the search crews back out. And we're like, okay, great. And nothing happened again after like the 8th or the 9th. And then we heard the great news again that they were bringing search crews back out for another targeted searches, which happened on the May 18th, 17th, 18th, around that time area, whatever, if it falls on the weekend, whatever that May time is that weekend. They did more ground searches, and we're like, wow, you know, because we're accustomed to listening to yahoos like Sumner County that say we're scaling back the search and you never hear from them again, right? And so we're like, man, this case, these poor kids, you know, yada, yada, yada. And then we hear that first good news of them going out there and searching for them. And then we hear the 17th weekend, we hear them going out there again and searching again. We're like, yes, yes. And then we got the news that hit us like a gut punch. And it was, this was it. They're done with the ground searches and they still haven't brought the babies home. Well, I've got great news. We just learned this afternoon, just a couple hours ago, they are going back out there again for more targeted searches for these two beautiful children. And I sat there and thought, you know, this is breaking news. And then something just took my breath away. And it was, Seth is watching this. Seth is watching these cases. You know why? because all of the creators that he cares about, the ones he watches and associate with, many of them are talking about this case. So he's watching Canada really come out and show out for 2 children. And he just wants Sumner County to get off their flippin' ass and just do a blessed search. And here we are again with these kids. Search ended at the beginning of May, and then they gave it one more good effort. And then they gave it another good effort. And now we're hearing again they're going to be back out there this weekend again searching for these kids. Where the hell is Sumner County in Sebastian Rogers' case? Seth is watching this. Is Sebastian not worth this kind of attention? Is he not worth this kind of searching? Seth is watching all of this. He wants his son found. And like he said in his last interview, I'd like to see more searches. I'd like to see more searches. At this point in the Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers case, they should have some data coming in from the vehicles, from phones, from other people in the area, from the CART team's pools and geofencing. They should have all of that data in that should help identify critical areas that need to be penetrated and searched. And even if they searched once, go back out there and search again. Even if you search 10 times, go back out there and search an 11th time. Because of cases like Elijah Vu that show us that we can have all the bells and whistles of all the great technology and still walk right over them. You can never search the area enough, especially the area in and around their home. The area in and around their home is like a freaking, what do they call those forests? The rainforest. It looks like a flippin' rainforest around them. It looks like a rainforest around them. You're telling me that there's no possibility of overlooking a 6 and a 4-year-old out there in this? Hey, Deanna, it's nice to see you, love bug. D-Real. Hey. Chicken coop. Somebody's talking about the chicken coop. And not only that, but the debris. There's debris all over there. Now, while I'm not I'm not this person that just because you pass a polygraph test, I automatically believe that you have nothing to do with it, because we know the reason why polygraph tests are inadmissible in a court of law is because they don't have a good rep with, false positives and false negatives. So I never rely on a polygraph test wholeheartedly, but it makes me feel good that he passed one. Not inconclusive, but passed. But it still now makes Malehya's behavior even all that more suspicious. Even all that more suspicious. Let's read what we've got here for the front, so we're all on the same page of this breaking news and breaking news information that is just coming out from the Royal Canadian Police. Now, the Royal Canadian Police did not put this out on their Facebook feed, okay? So most of us are all following Facebook and trying to keep up to date on all of these nuances and updates and breaking news that only the RCMP can provide us, because let's face it, right? We're in the United States. We have no ability to get information. It's not like we're running a case from the States where we have people we can send out here. We have a whole network of true crime content creators as well as audience members all over this country that we can tap into to get people places, get information coming to us, and all this other stuff. Being in Canada, we're fish out of water. Us United States content creators are truly fish out of water because we don't know how to research in Canada. We only can research on Google. But if you know anything like about me, I have a multitude of research tools for the United States that makes my job a lot easier. So when I don't have the tools necessary here in the States, I have to do things the long route. That means I got to make a lot of phone calls, call the jurisdictions, find out what they need, find out where I can find this, where I can find that. In Canada, it's a whole host of different information where you just don't get that. But what we're going to learn in this newest release is, and again, it's not on Facebook, it's in a news article, is that they are once again not giving up. They are going back out there searching for these children. So I wanted to read this entire article so again we are all on the same page. 4 weeks after 2 children vanished without a trace in rural Nova Scotia, the children's stepfather is still holding on to hope. Lilly Sullivan, 6 years old, and her brother Jack Sullivan, 4 years old, have been missing since May 2nd, when police received a 911 call from their mother and stepfather reporting that they had wandered away from their home in Lansdowne Station, a sparsely populated area about 140 kilometers northeast of Halifax. The disappearance sparked an extensive 6-day search through 5.5 square kilometers of mostly dense and rugged terrain. Upwards of 160 search and rescue officials, dogs, helicopters, and drones. The effort was scaled back on May 7th, but subsequent searches had taken place, including ground searches around the children's home on Garlock Road and underwater searches of bodies of water in the area, in the region. On Friday, RCMP said ground search and rescue and police will return to the area over the weekend. In a news release, RCMP said that they will focus on specific areas around Garlock Road and thereby Pipeline Trail where boot prints were previously located. We continue to ask the public to avoid the search area to allow trained searchers to do their work. Daniel Martell, the children's stepfather, has previously told CBC News that the 2 boot tracks were found near his home, as well as another nearby. The RCMP Major Crimes Unit has been involved since the day after the children were reported missing, May 3rd, and again the same day that Malehya took off out of a briefing about her missing children and never returned again. Martell said the disappearance has taken a toll on him and his family. Every day I wake up and I feel like I'm reliving a nightmare, Martell says in an interview on Friday in Lansdowne Station, nearly 1 month after his stepchildren disappeared. The main feeling of sadness just turns to anger because there's no evidence after 1 month. Still, Martell says he has not lost hope. That's all we have at this point, he says. That's the goal I have, is to bring Jack and Lily home. Martell asked RCMP for a polygraph test earlier in the investigation, and he told CBC News he passed the test. So you really can't point the finger at me anymore. RCMP previously declined to say whether a polygraph would be administered. So we know it has been administered. He's claiming he had passed. Now, while I say it does put some distance between him and this, it doesn't preclude him from being involved just because he passes. Because again, the reason why they're not admissible in a court of law, at least here in the United States. Martell also addressed rumors. Oh, this is the other breaking news. He addressed rumors about the party. Just yesterday, we have been working very hard to find out if there was a house party at this house. We heard through the grapevine a rumor that a neighbor said that there was a house party, and we went on, this trail. We had it as part of one of our theories, but we were very cautious because we were working very tirelessly to try to corroborate the information so we could take it out of the rumor mill and put it over into the fact mill, the fact-finding mill. And as hard as I was working, and I do the same strategies. It's not like this is our first rodeo. I always come here, I always ask, we always research. A lot of people got their hands in this case, and so I know that at a certain point it's either truthful, or if it's not truthful, then no information will come up. If it's truthful, then there will be somebody stepping forward or information being leaked. It happens all the time. In this case, none of that happened with this house party. Nobody came forward saying that they were at the house party. Nothing happened to the kids. There was no drugs. It was a birthday party, yada, yada, yada. Nobody stepped forward. So that was the first indicator, right? Nobody was coming forward. Nobody was really coming up to the plate to really explain this house party. So finally, yesterday, I finally had to concede and put it to the side and say, we can't look at this house party anymore, because outside of this one, rumor, we've worked very hard to corroborate the information. So until the information can be corroborated, it has to be removed. It's and so far in this case, it's the outlier, kind of like the Speedway. You guys remember that Speedway in the Sebastian Rogers case, where somebody thought that they saw somebody at that Speedway, and when you look at it, it's the one outlier along with the 5:15 work time. Those were outliers. They just didn't make sense in the case, so we finally removed them. And when I finally removed them, the whole entire timeline fell into place, showing Chris had absolutely enough time to hang up the phone with Katie at 11 something at night, drive from his place in Mississippi to his home, stay there up to 15 minutes. Now, mind you, the neighbor said that the car was there 3 to 5 minutes. He had plenty of time to stay there 15 minutes and get back to work and still have another 15 or 20 minutes to spare before he had to clock in. And that would have been after the phone call with law enforcement. Perfect timeline when I removed that 5:15, him being at work at 5:15. That the timeline fit right in place. And so we have to remember that. So long story short is we removed that yesterday, and then today it's addressed. There is no drug party the day before the disappearance, he said. That is absolutely nonsense. And I have to agree that it has to be nonsense because, usually I work it and I get results. This one, I worked it and got zero. Nothing. Not zilch. Nothing. Not even somebody saying, oh, well, it could probably be this, when people start, filling in, they don't have any information, but they start filling it in for people. I get a lot of that stuff too. But there was nothing. There was nothing. So we finally removed it yesterday, and now he's saying no such thing existed. And so I thought maybe it was, the family that came, picked up the kids and took them out. And then I find out that they're out in the public with mom, stepdad, little sister Meadow, and the 2 siblings. They were all out the afternoon. It wasn't some other family member. It was them. They went out as a family. Wherever, I don't know. Robert Parker, warden of municipality of the county of Pictou, said there is a feeling of disappointment and sadness in the community. We haven't even found one iota, it appears, of what happened to little Lily and little Jack, said Parker in an interview Friday. It's hard to believe that many people look for that long, including search parties from all over this province, and the RCMP have been involved since day one. Lots of others looking and trying, but not one iota that I have ever heard of anyway, as a hint as to where these little girls wandered off, or these little ones, excuse me, wandered off to. Parker said residents are feeling anxious and frustrated by many questions left unanswered 4 weeks later. I know older people in their 90s, they told me they can't sleep at night, he says. Those little ones and all the little ones belong to all of us. We all feel like they're part of our family, that they're part of our Pictou County family. They're part of the Nova Scotia family, and we need to find answers. Members of the community have been showing their support for Lilly and Jack by placing flowers and stuffed animals on the post outside of the RCMP detachments in Stellarton. Earlier this week, RNCP confirmed the siblings were seen in the public with family members on the afternoon of May 1st, one day before the disappearance based on details police have gathered. Martell says police have retrieved surveillance cameras in New Glasgow. Ready? This is what he says. That shows himself, the children's mother, Malehya Brooks-Murray, the couple's 1-year-old baby Meadow, and Lilly and Jack. He said he couldn't say where the footage came from because it might be important to the investigation. So there was no other family members. So they were the last people. They're the only people that are around these children. Is it possible that the RCMP missed something and these children were abducted? And if that is the case, then why is Malehya having such strange and weird behaviors? Leaving the area, not coming back, appears to not be concerned where her children are. And then now learning that it's possible that she lawyered up. Is the noose tightening around Malehya's neck? Is this going to be another Leilani Simon case? I don't know. Shirley, you might have to go into settings and check the volume for media. Yeah, it's got to be the volume because I talk loud. Everybody can hear me. I have to turn her down. Yeah, better turn me down if you don't want me screaming in your ear because I'm deaf and I'm a loud one. You hear me coming? Have you guys seen my Facebook? Was it my Facebook one? It says, when my feet hit the ground, the devil says, oh shit, here she comes. Just saying. Even the devil's scared of old Betty. Why you lure her up? She has nothing to hide. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Rebel. Like, you know what I'm saying? She's up and leaving, and she's potentially lawyering up while they're still searching for her children, and the only person giving interviews is Daniel. We may have gotten Daniel a little bit wrong at the beginning. That's why I always try to caution people, like, slow the horse. Slow the horse. The reason why we have such a great batting average on this channel is because we don't jump the gun. I know a lot of people like to paint that illusion, but we don't jump the gun. We go through this methodically. We go through it quickly. You know, as the stuff is coming out, we're putting it together and seeing what it makes. And sometimes it doesn't, paint a clear picture, and other times it paints a crystal clear picture. This is one of those times where, like I said, this is going to be one of those cases that have twists. Sometimes I know, sometimes I don't know. But this case, just by the way this case has already started unfolding, there's going to be a lot of twists and turns and significant bombshells we are not expecting in this case. I can just tell you right now. I don't know how I know it. I just know when I know, and I know. This case is not what meets the eye. It's kind of a little the vibe of Brian Koberry, where everybody's looking left when they should have been looking right. And nobody, like I remember getting there at 1122 King Road, and the minute my foot hit the ground and I looked at that property, I remember looking over at Olivia and saying, this is not one person any of us are looking for. This is going to be somebody we've never heard of. I remember telling her that like it was yesterday, and how eerie those words came back, because it truly was somebody we were never looking at, and somebody we never even talked about or knew. Just something about being at that property told me that. Because when I looked at that property, there's no way that these goofy kids that do stupid crap are going to do this kind of destruction. It just wasn't part of their makeup. You could see that in their eyes. I'm starting to wonder if the trial courts or elders have in some way intervened, or have someone picked them up to be placed in safety away from the abusive situation. I don't know. I mean, Daniel's not really, I can't get access to the criminal records there. They got that crap locked down, which is a disservice to their community. I'm sorry, just is. So I got no access to Daniel's criminal history, but from everything I can see, I'm not seeing the signs of this abuse. The only sign that even remotely goes into the category, that could potentially go into the category of abuse, would be the isolation. Because what I'm hearing that Malehya did to the biological father's family sounds pretty close to isolating these children, cutting the whole entire family off. I mean, it's one thing to have a fight with a significant other, or not wanting the significant other around the children for a variety of reasons. But their family, typically their families have nothing whatsoever to do with the issues going on inside that home, and love the children, and typically don't get drugged into this. And in this case, she cut all of them off. So maybe the problem truly is Malehya. We don't know. I don't want to beat up a mom, because, this case is turning a little bit. What appeared to be strong suspicions a month ago are transitioning to a little bit more. I'm surprised Malehya and Daniel didn't tell the world about this outing that the family had the afternoon of May 1st. I'm very curious about that, because the children were supposed to be sick and home in bed. So, Katie Cat, in my opinion, those babies didn't walk away. They are babies and would be crying. And you know what? According to Malehya's story, she's the one that got Daniel up, asking him, if we go back and listen to her interview, do you hear the kids? You know what I'm saying? Could they have wandered off? Yeah, it's lower in the probability. The abduction's lower in the probability. The probability really is, statistically, with the mom and the stepdad. It really will be. It'll be both or one or the other, statistically speaking. But Malehya's behavior, man, I don't know if we can really look past that. Change in financial status, quickly moving in together, pregnancy straight away, moved in the middle of nowhere, gone from happy time. Yeah, maybe. Isolated. Yeah, when you live out there in the middle of nowhere, it's, especially if somebody's at work and you're there all by yourself. I can imagine if the kids had to be in school, what is Malehya doing? Well, she's got the baby, but prior to the baby, what was she doing? And why would she isolate the family, these other kids' families that could be helping her out with her two children, while she, a year and a half ago, which would right before Meadow was born. Right before Meadow was born, it sounds like she cut off all communication with the other side of the family. Depression. I think depression is going to have a factor in this, but I'm starting to think that Malehya may have acted alone, if she did. Now, with this new information of them being out in the public on the 1st, well, there's a few things that I've got to say about that. I feel like they were deceptive about their Thursday comings and goings. which, you know, makes me wonder. I mean, you would think that if somebody was saying that they think the kids are dead and they think they may have died before they were reported missing, you'd think you'd be like, well, we were just out, you know, at Costco's down the road, you know, yesterday afternoon with the kids to pick up some stinking medicine, you know, or something like that. But we never got that from either one of them. And then we find it's like this curveball from left field. The RCMP is like, yeah, the whole damn family was, you know, in New Glasgow, 20 minutes away in the afternoon of, you know, before they disappeared. It just seemed weird for me, you know? I mean, how do you forget something like that, you know? But I just don't get it. I don't know where to go from here in this case, because to me, it seems like Daniel is becoming less and less of a suspect on paper, in the public eye, and he's doing everything that he needs to be doing to try to advance this case to find out what happened to these children. But on the flip side of that, these children's own mother kicked rocks and has never been back. She's turned her Facebook on, but you don't see no missing flyer posts on her Facebook. You don't see her daily updating people on her Facebook about her children. You don't see her out there daily trying to find any answers to resolve where her kids are or what happened to them. It's as if she crawled on the rock and doesn't give a shit. Which is, I mean, I can't imagine that that's the case, but that's what it looks like to the public. And you know what? I'm sorry, but law enforcement doesn't tell you not to talk to media. You know who tells you not to talk to media? Attorneys. This is the second case that we've had a person we deemed as a person of interest downright to a suspect saying that law enforcement told him not to say anything. Well, in Chris Proudfoot, TBI came out and said, and so did Sumner County, said, we never told him that. So he lied. Is Malehya lying too? Is Malehya lying too? These are questions we must ask ourselves. Because something is not right in this story, and we have a stepfather. There's not one biological parent out here spreading awareness for their missing child. Not one biological parent out here fighting for these children. And the only person that is standing up and speaking up each and every opportunity he gets is Daniel. A person that's not even married to their mother, but has taken the position of step-parent, and people are being nasty to him. Now, granted, I'm side-eyeing him too. I don't know what to make of him. I really don't. The polygraph does help me, but it's not the end-all, be-all for me. But Malehya, I think Malehya, for me, has the most concerning behavior. Her whole family. Not one grandma? Malehya's own mother not out here trying to get as much news to come to her to talk about her grandbabies, to find out where they are. Grandma's not even coming forward? And they were the first ones screaming, Daniel did it. And you guys know how I feel about the people that scream the loudest. I got some type of questions here. This is really starting to change a little bit. I mean, the first one was seeing the children at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The second one is this whole passing of the polygraph. So where do we go now? And maybe why they're picking up the searches again. Maybe law enforcement is starting to believe it's possible that the kids can be out there in those woods again. But where are their items? Where are their items? And they're tinier kids. Could there be holes or depressions out there in the wilderness that they could have fallen into? Remember that one boy that was playing in his yard? His mom turned around and poof, he was gone. And she never saw him again, and she called law enforcement. Well, come to find out, their septic tank, which they didn't even realize because a whole bunch of leaves and stuff were on top of the septic tank. A septic tank is supposed to have a concrete cap. And I guess the concrete cap had broken, and somebody, maybe prior to them even purchasing the property, and they just never knew it, had put wood, like a wood cap on it. Well, that wood cap with all of those leaves on it rotted. So when the child stepped into a specific spot and they didn't even know, it was like she turned around and he was gone. And she couldn't figure out where he went because the leaves, she didn't even know it was there. Days later, they found this child in the septic tank. He didn't make it. And it was nothing nefarious. It was just a horrible and tragic accident where this child was playing in the yard and just disappeared, and literally just disappeared, just like that. And they still, even law enforcement, scouring the whole area, dogs, the whole search and everything, and nobody realized that there was a wood cap over the septic tank until I think it was like 2, 3, maybe even 4 days later. And when they realized, after they moved the leaves and saw the hole in the middle of the wood, they lifted the wood, and that's when they discovered the child. So is it a situation, like that? I don't know. Daniel is at least out there talking all the time. Guy looks exhausted. Eileen, I have to agree with that. I have to agree with that. I'm very skeptical because of the active substance abuse, but at the end of the day, even active substance abuse users and addicts can be involved in some stuff and not be the responsible party and just be begging for people to believe them. And maybe that might be the situation with Daniel. He knows he's in a pickle. He knows he's got this horrible reputation. And all he wants to do is people to believe him. He didn't do anything to these kids. And I think he's earned himself some breathing room on that front from Bullhorn Betty. He's out there. He's got we've been talking about it, all these boxes and the right thing that, the reason why I'm judging him so critically is because of the substance abuse. And that's my bias to have, being a recovering addict. I know how manipulative substance abuse addicts can be. If postpartum depression, in my opinion, she has a funny way of showing it. Sorry, not sorry. Well, because she's been so silent, we don't know what she's going through. She might have confessed to everything to her family, and that may be the reason why they got her an attorney. We don't know. We don't know what the situation is. What we have right here is we have no biological people fighting for the 2 children that are missing, and a whole bunch of non-biological members and strangers doing the work that a mom and her family should be helping. Once again, sounds like I'm talking about Katie Proudfoot. Sounds like I'm talking about Katie Proudfoot. It does. Aw, Lady for Justice, thank you. God bless you for that. Lady Justice says, thank you, Betty, mods, and chat. Well, God, I see SPED teacher. Hello, beautiful. I hope you're doing well. Postpartum doesn't usually last more than months, but there are always exceptions. And I've heard, there already are, and there have been cases, well-known cases, that have lasted outside of those months. Isn't the same person that said there was a party, no, law enforcement found substances in their home during a house search for these children. It wasn't the neighbor that said they found the substances. It was I can't remember where I read it, but I don't think it was the neighbor. I don't think it was the neighbor. It was something that somebody had said. I can't remember how I learned of that now that I'm looking back on that. Aw, thank you. SPED teacher gifted a Bullhorn Betty membership. If you received your Bullhorn Betty membership, please don't forget to tell SPED teacher thank you. And for the person that received the gifted Bullhorn Betty membership, welcome to this crazy family we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the Insane Asylum. Grab your straitjacket and your padded room. Welcome aboard. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Thank you. Thank you for that. She could be in rehab. That's a good perspective. That's a good perspective. I would really like to know who these children's father is. I mean, we obviously know who the grandmother is, and I've got no ill will toward her despite, you know, the situation, but it seems like she wanted to have a relationship with her grandchildren, and Malehya made sure that that did not happen, and that's a very much of a concern for me. I'm going to tell you, when I talk about children and I talk about, you know, the health of children and stuff like that, it doesn't mean just about crime. Like, if you're going through a divorce and you're talking shit about your children's other parent, stop. Those children cannot help who their mommy and daddy are. So if you're talking shit when you're on your phone with your girlfriends and you have a couple of glasses of wine and you're just going off, your children are hearing. Cut it out. Cut it out. I truly believe that parents unintentionally abuse their children by speaking and talking in front of them. There's little sponges. They're little sponges, and they learn all of this stuff. But it just seems to me that the other side of the family wanted to be a part of these kids' lives. Why the father's not in these children's lives? I'm not a family counselor. I don't really care why the father's not in it. Is it sad? Yes, I feel bad. Every child should have their real mother and their real father, and thankfully to the real step-parents that step up into the place. Sometimes they're needed and sometimes they're not needed, and they just choose to be there because they want to be part of that family. But this, to me, it's borderline abuse. Withholding a child from their grandparent, to me, is borderline abuse. I don't care how much you dislike them. If they're not hurting your children and are not talking shit about you to that child. Now, there's some cases, you know, people, we all know sometimes in-laws, we don't like in-laws and they go way, way, way overboard. And I can understand that, and that's justified. But it doesn't seem like this lady is sitting there bad-mouthing these kids' parents, you know, or mother. But who knows? Who knows? I just feel really bad for any family member that has been removed from their family member's life without them wanting to remove themselves from the situation, and something like this happens where they'll never ever get an opportunity to tell their loved one that they love them. I think that's really sad, and that hurts my heart. And that should hurt, you know, many people's hearts, that a family, whether there's, you know, discourse there between the parents, don't drag the other family in there. They didn't ask to be in this relationship. They didn't ask to be part of this family, but you made them part of this family, and you created life in that relationship that's now part of their life. It's not fair. It's not fair to your children, and it's not fair to the other person, whether you're trying to punish them or not. It's just not fair. It's not right. It's abuse, in my opinion. So if you're making those types of things, you know, sometimes just being aware of it and being cautious and making conscious efforts to change that behavior will help your children. The last thing you want is your children to have anxiety or need to escape and use drugs and booze to hide the pain because they think their mom is a whore and their father sticks it into anybody that'll, you know, you see what I'm saying? It's a horrible thing to hear about your parents. So knock it off. So knock it off if you're doing it. All right, guys. Rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, but we've learned a few things. We've learned there is a proof of life for the children. Afternoon of May 1st, we know that Daniel has passed his polygraph test. It appears that mommy has lawyered up, and law enforcement has not given up on the kids like Sumner County has given up on Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you soon. God bless.